Hello everybody, and welcome back to the channel for this week's Toolbox safety topic video. Before we get started, make sure that you give me a thumbs up down below here to encourage me to make more videos of this type. Also, subscribe to my YouTube channel where you'll find additional videos of this nature, other safety related videos, and leadership training videos. And if you find this information useful or helpful, make sure that you share it with your colleagues and co-workers. Well, let's go ahead and get started with the Toolbox safety topic video. This week's video is confined spaces. In a typical year, more than 100 people die from working in a confined space. So it's important to remind your crews how to remain safe. A Toolbox talk devoted to confined spaces could make the difference between a successfully completed project and a project involving an injury or fatality. Here are some of the basics that we need to cover. Number one, what is a confined space? A confined space has limited or restricted means for entry or exit and is big enough to work in, but not meant to be occupied continuously. Some examples would be manholes, crawl spaces, tunnels, pipelines, water mains, storm drains, HVAC ducts, and shafts. Confined space dangers. If the confined space poses a potential hazard to health or life, it is a permit-required confined space, also known as a PRCS. OSHA requires contractors to have a competent person who determines if a permit is required. There are many potential dangers in a PRCS, including asphyxiation caused by a lack of oxygen in the space or toxic gases, injury from a fire or an explosion if there's a buildup of dust or if flammable liquids are present, shock or electrocution from electrical hazards, injury from being entrapped in mechanical equipment, entrapment if the access points are blocked, drowning from water or another liquid that engulfs the space, heat exhaustion or heat stroke from a high ambient temperature, respiratory problems due to dust buildup. The best way to keep safe is to stay aware of the dangers and the recognized symptoms and warning signs of possible problems. Everybody has a role in safety. OSHA requires the general contractor, subcontractor, and owner to keep each other informed about any potential dangers in the confined space. If someone sees or suspects a problem, they must let the other job site partners know about it right away. Let's talk about some definition of roles. Let's talk about the entry supervisor. The entry supervisor is the gatekeeper, the person who must determine whether the PRCS is safe and acceptable to enter and ensure that those acceptable entry conditions are maintained. They must keep unauthorized people away from the space or make them leave immediately if they've entered. An entry supervisor must be knowledgeable about the dangers workers could face when entering a PRCS, including those described above and other physical hazards, such as unguarded equipment and exposed live wires. In addition, they have to know the physical symptoms and behaviors that indicate a worker has been exposed to a hazard. The entry supervisor has to endorse the permit for the confined space before anyone can enter it. This means they have to confirm that all the tests required by the permit have been conducted. If conditions become unsafe, the entry supervisor has to terminate the entry and cancel the permit. Another important duty is to make sure that the designated rescue service is available to assist if a problem occurs while people are working in the PRCS. They also must verify that their method of contacting that rescue service is operable. Then we have the attendant role. The attendant is stationed outside the PRCS while workers are inside. Their job is to ensure that employees can safely enter and work within the space. They must remain at their post unless another properly trained attendant relieves them. Like the entry supervisor, the attendant has to be familiar with any potential or existing hazards in the PRCS and symptoms that might indicate workers have been exposed to a hazard. They have to move any unauthorized people out of or away from the confined space. Attendants work more closely with the people inside the PRCS. They must keep track of the number of workers in the space and stay in communication with them. They're responsible for ordering workers out of the space if they see that a prohibited condition exists. If a worker shows symptoms that indicate exposure to a hazard, if there's an emergency outside of the confined space, or if they themselves can't perform their required duties. If there's an emergency in the PRCS, the attendant is responsible for contacting the rescue service. If the employer's rescue procedures call for it, the attendant may also attempt to rescue workers without entering the space using a retrieval system. The same person can serve as both the entry supervisor and the attendant, but only if that person is trained and equipped for both roles and if their duty as an entry supervisor doesn't interfere with their duty as an attendant. Then we have the authorized entrant. Authorized entrants are the workers who are authorized by the entry supervisor to enter the PRCS. Like the entry supervisor and the attendant, they must know the hazards they might face and the symptoms that indicate they've been exposed to those hazards. They have to understand how to use any necessary personal protective equipment and make sure that they use it. Authorized entrants are required to keep in touch with the attendant and let them know if they see a dangerous condition or signs or symptoms that could indicate there's a hazard in the confined space. If the attendant instructs them to leave the space, or if they hear an automatic alarm that indicates a problem, they must exit the space promptly. And then there's the emergency rescue personnel. Companies that have people working in a PRCS must have a rescue team or emergency service that can arrive at a moment's notice. And they must inform them of any hazards that exist in the space. It can't be just any team or service. The responders must understand the hazards involved with a PRCS and be capable of reaching trapped workers in a timely manner. The employer who hired the people to work in the PRCS has to verify that the rescue service has the necessary personal protective and rescue equipment, including respirators, and that they've been trained in how to use it. All rescuers must have first aid and CPR training, and at least one rescue team member must have certifications in both. Rescuers must participate at least once a year in a practice rescue exercise. Keeping workers in permit-required confined space safe is a team effort, and it's crucial that every player know their role. The entrant bears the brunt of the risk and must know how to behave in the space, but the attendant must keep a watchful eye from outside, and the entry supervisor must make sure the space is safe to enter in the first place. For each role, training is key. Now, let's talk about keeping yourself and others safe. A confined space is less dangerous if workers have the proper training and know what to watch out for. Understand the potential risk. Test the atmosphere before ventilating. Report any changing, potentially dangerous conditions to the entry supervisor and/or the competent person. Wear the appropriate PPE. Get out immediately if they're told to. Need help in determining which confined space standard you should be following? Check with your supervisor or safety professional. And the OSHA requirements mentioned above are from the OSHA Standard 1926 Subpart AA. All right, boys and girls, that's it for this week's Toolbox Safety Topic video. Thanks for stopping by, and thanks for watching. Make sure that you give me a thumbs up down below here to encourage me to make more videos of this type. Also, subscribe to my YouTube channel where you'll find additional videos of this nature, other safety-related videos, and leadership training videos. And if you found this information useful or helpful, make sure you share it with your colleagues and coworkers. And until we see each other again, take care of yourself because you're number one. Look out for your coworkers and help ensure their safety. Have a grateful day, and remember, I will see you in the field. All right, boys and girls, confined space. Believe it or not, this was just the tip of the iceberg. There is a lot to learn about confined space. All the hazards, all the conditions, all the training that must be met to ensure a safe entry, work, and exit from a confined space. Check the OSHA Standard 1926 Subpart AA. It'll give you full details. Each of the supervisor, the entrant supervisor, the entrant, and the rescue personnel must be trained to the standards under Subpart AA. It's a complicated thing, but this is just a summary overview of what confined space is. Make sure you do your own research, and remember that these videos can be used as a Toolbox Safety Topic training video for your team members on your job site for your company. The only thing that you need to do is to make sure that you reference the video that you watched, date the sign-in sheet, have a discussion, and have all the guys sign off on the sign-on sheet, and that becomes a document that you can submit to OSHA to verify that you do hazard recognition training, hazard mitigation training for your team, for your job site, and for your company. If you have a specific video you'd like to see, just leave a comment down below here, and I'll get that made for you as quickly as possible. If you have a specific safety question, just once again leave a comment down below, and I'll get back with you as quickly as possible with references so that you could properly transmit the information to your team members. Anyway, I think that's about it. Like I said, I've been participating in some revisiting of a hobby. If you'll watch to the end, I'll put some photos in of those things I've been doing. Anyway, I think that's it. Thanks for watching. Have a grateful day, and I will see you in the field. Stop recording.